Our learning target for today is I can multiply using the powers of 10. Our success criteria is I know I'm successful when I can use my understanding of exponents to accurately multiply large numbers. Before we begin multiplying large numbers, let's review the powers of 10. Let's begin with standard form. When we use standard form, we are just writing a number using its digits. For example, the standard form of 10 is 1, 0. The standard form of 100 is 1, 0, 0. And as you can see, this entire column going down has the numbers in standard written form. As we know in math, we can write our numbers as expressions. For example, if I have the number 100, I know that I can write 100 as 10 times 10. We did this earlier this year, and we saw that every time we multiplied by 10, we increased by a 0. So 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. If I multiply it 4 times, my answer is 10,000, which has, you guessed it, 4 zeros. Now, today we are going to be talking about the powers of 10. When we write the powers of 10, we can write it as a base number and an exponent. For example, the number 10 can be written as, here's our base 10, and our exponent is 1. That means we are just writing the 10 one time. If we go down to 10 to the power of 3, right here, we can see that our base number is 10, and that exponent tells us how many times we are going to be multiplying that base number. So in this case, 10 to the power of 3 means that we are multiplying the 10 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And we continue that pattern going all the way down. So here we have 10 to the power of 9. So as we can see one more time, we have our base number, and we are going to look at that exponent, and that's how many times we are going to be multiplying it. So we are multiplying the 10 9 times. And as we did earlier in the year, we know that if we multiply 10 9 times, we are going to get a very large number. That number is 1 billion. Okay? So now we're going to take what we know about the powers of 10, and we're going to use it to multiply large numbers. Now we will use what we reviewed on the previous slide to help us solve these multiplication problems. If I have 54 times 10 to the power of 5, that is the same thing as 54 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Okay, that's a lot of tens. So now we can see why we would want to use exponents, because it's a lot easier than writing out 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Another way to write that would be 54 times 100,000. Because if I multiply the 10 5 times, I'm going to get 100,000. When I multiply, now I know that 54 times 1 is 54. And then I am going to add my zeros. Notice that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So I will put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So my answer is 5,400,000. So even though this number looks small, because we are multiplying by the powers of 10, it's actually a very big number. Let's look at the second problem. 37 times 10 to the power of 3. Again, we can restate this to say that 37 times 10 times 10 times 10. As you can see, we are multiplying the base number 10 a total of 3 times, which is the exponent. So it's 37 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is the same thing as 37 times 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. And that is going to be equal to 37,000. Finally, we're going to get to our last problem, 44 times 10 to the power of 7. Once again, 44 times, and we look at our base number, 10, and we look at the exponent, 7, and we know how many times we're going to multiply that 7. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, one more, times 10. So now we have 44 times that's going to be 10 million, believe it or not. So that's going to be equal to 440, excuse me. $440 million. Wow, that's a lot of zeros. So here we have, again, how do we multiply by the powers of 10? We take our number, we multiply it by the base number 10, the number of exponents. Now, there's got to be an easier and faster way of doing this. Did you notice the pattern of the zeros? Remember, when we multiply by the power of 10, our numbers increase in value. They will get bigger. What was the pattern that we saw develop with zeros and the powers of 10? Let's do a quick review. If I have 5 times 10 to the power of 2, it is the same as saying 5 times 10 times 10, which is the same as 5 times 100, which would be equal to 500. If you notice, my exponent is 2, and the numbers of zeros I have is 2. I wonder if that would work with another number. Let's try it. I'm going to do 34 times 10 to the power of 3. So that would be 34 times 10 times 10 times 10. Well, if I multiply 10 times 10 times 10, I'm going to get 1,000. So it will be 34 times 1,000. If I multiply those two numbers together, I will get 34,000. So let's quickly check. I have 1, 2, 3 zeros, and I have the exponent of 3. Are you starting to see the pattern now? Using what we learned about the pattern of zeros, can you think of a way to use the exponents to quickly multiply by the powers of 10? In your math journal, I'd like you to think of a way we can use the exponents to quickly multiply by the powers of 10. We will check in and reflect at the end of our workshop.